Hello everyone, welcome back to the episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name is Hayden.
And I'm getting quicker and quicker.
Yeah, I was going to say, you kind of mumbled that then. It was like, hey, welcome back to Teach, Repeat.
Imagine if people lose this to like...
Was that?
Oh, it's been a long week.
Imagine if they were there. Yeah, all right, mate. He's having one of those migraines that I had.
Imagine if people do listen to it on *2. I'm already going at *2. *4.
Oh, man.
Anyway, got some really good feedback from last time.
Yep.
Probably the most amount of messages I've ever received about people laughing at how funny it was.
Yeah, including us.
Yeah.
We messaged ourselves.
Yeah.
We found it so funny.
Went viral.
I was told that the episode was unhinged. We were unhinged.
I kept using that word, and when I described it, it was completely unhinged.
I think we just lost the plot. I don't know what it was. If you haven't checked out last episode, please do go and check it out and let us know if you like it or not, because it was a little bit different to normal. We weren't as serious. Well, there wasn't really a serious element at all.
Wait, sorry. When was the last episode?
No,
was serious.
We usually have like one bit that's a bit serious.
Yeah.
We just lost the plot because I don't know if you know, but Dylan's just moved house.
Sleepless.
Oh, sorry, and he's a dad as well.
Sleepless nights. I think it was just like I had a lot of people message me saying who'd have kids saying it took them back to that time of newborn, and they were just like, yeah, it is just like unlike anything you'll ever experience. And I was like, yeah, because I don't think I was like conscious in that last episode. I think I was just still glazed over.
Well,
completely.
give it 4 weeks and we'll have another episode exactly the same where I am in that position.
I am looking forward to that, but I'm also thinking, I don't know how this like equilibrium is going to work when we both have essentially newborns. What's going to happen with our like organization? Because you've been really good. You've brought us food. You've like, done bits for us that just keep us sane. And then suddenly you won't be there.
Yeah, and you won't be doing that.
I know. We had a conversation the other day. Like, I don't know how we're going to be as helpful.
We're fully not expecting it.
Good, because don't want to.
Yeah,
that's
good.
Yeah, won't be doing anything for you.
Don't want to.
But I feel a bit more human this week.
Yeah.
I feel a bit more with it.
You look a bit more human. You've had a haircut.
I've had a haircut. That's one of the things I want to talk about my week. I literally managed to get a haircut this week.
In fact, looking at your notes,
Yeah, no, my notes there.
it's the only thing that's not to do with your child. So I don't know if this is why it's going to be like every episode now. We usually recap on our week. Rory. Oh, that one's about your child as well.
Well, when you're on paternity leave, Hayden, with a 2-week-old, that is all you do.
Your paternity's up then.
Yeah, literally. Back to work next week.
Oh, I spoke to, just quickly, slight tangent, maternity now.
Tangent?
We didn't do that.
Yeah.
We had the midwife round yesterday.
Yeah.
Community midwife. And she was utterly shocked at what teaching maternity leave is like.
Oh, yeah.
Like, genuinely, she didn't believe us. She was like, no, you must have got it wrong. I was like, no, 2 weeks full pay for women and then 90% for 4 weeks. And we explained it goes to 50% pretty quickly and then nothing. She was like, what? I said, well, what's it like for you then? She was like, well, thinking, it's another job that's very like populated by women. I was thinking that's probably equally rubbish because that's why teaching's so bad.
Yeah.
No, 6 months full pay.
Yeah, mental.
And then it goes to 50% for a bit or something like
crazy.
that.
It's crazy. How is it not consistent underneath government departments?
I know.
Like it's public service job.
Yeah.
And it's like, for some reason, you're not worth that. Nah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mad.
But the police have a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're on the same pay scale.
Anyway, I got a haircut.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah.
I went, the guy I get my haircut from, his brother works there as well, and he just had a kid.
Oh,
and
it's about babies as well.
It's about babies.
Sorry, I thought this was the one thing. No, carry on.
Hayden, you'll know soon. You'll know, okay?
I'm not there.
And yeah, he had a kid, and we were chatting, and we just had this, like, proper 5-minute frank chat about how hard it is, basically. Which he was just like, he was really relieved. He was like, oh, I'm relieved you've said that.
Yeah.
Because he kind of said the same thing around people, that it was tough. Like, was basically like negative, basically. And everyone turned their nose up at him, apparently. And was just like, oh, what? It's the most magical thing in the world. It's like, yes, it can be amazing, whilst simultaneously being really tricky.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go over what I said again last week, but
Yeah.
like, it's not easy. It's not an objectively nice thing to be doing, to getting up every 2.5 hours and changing poo off a piece of fabric. That's not really what I want to do in my time, is it?
Yeah.
Like, it's lovely, and I love cuddles and stuff, and he'll grow up into, our child, which is amazing.
Our child.
Give it a couple of years, we can alone. But yeah, it's not nice. Like, it's not how you would choose to spend your time.
Yeah.
Like, we were trying to watch a TV series, right? So on Netflix, there's this TV series called Bodies. It's just like this detective.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
But it's like across time zones. It's really cool. We've watched 2 episodes now, and we've been trying to watch it for about 10 days. So that sums up my point here.
Is that the time zone element? It's not the show, it's you.
Yes. We're watching it in 4 different time zones. By the time he goes to school, we'll have finished the series. But I don't know about you, what's your opinion on watching shows? Because I hate not watching an entire episode. I think you've mentioned this before.
I'm sure we've had this conversation.
Are you weird?
I am weird. I don't mind. Obviously, I would prefer to watch a whole episode because generally they're constructed in a way that they leave the big
generally,
thing.
they are
till
literally.
The end. But quite often, I think it's become so ingrained that you have to have a cliffhanger at the end that's so ridiculously like unfulfilling. That you kind of have to watch the 10 minutes of the next episode to find out the actual ending to what you were hoping that episode was going to be. So I quite often we'll be like, well, we've got 20 minutes. Let's just watch the next bit, see what happens, and then we'll pause it. We'll pause it when a new scene starts.
You're just basically reimagining the whole structure of the show.
Yeah, because it's got so ridiculous.
You'll enjoy having a child then and being able to watch it in 5-minute snippets, right?
Yeah.
Because, we're trying to watch this show and we've managed to watch 2 episodes in literally about a week and a half because every single time we try to watch it, it's like he knows.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm so peaceful. And he hears a TV go on. Because I'm not looking at him.
The old pig.
Pig in the back of the head. So that's tricky. But apart from that, look at my notes. Yeah, Rory.
Yeah, anything else you want to talk about Rory?
But, well, this is one thing.
Who's Rory, sorry?
Rory's my child.
Oh, you're
2 things, right? That's all I want to say about him. Number 1, he's a boy.
Yeah.
So every time we change him, he has a fountain of wee. Like honestly, to the point where though I'm actually impressed, and I kind of want to get in touch with Guinness World Records because the height he gets on his wee when he wees, I swear to God, it's impressive.
Yeah.
It's like over 1 meter.
Has he got you covered in wee, I presume?
Yeah. Oh yeah, completely. He's got everything covered in wee.
Right.
Like the other day. So what you do is when you're changing them, right? You get them undressed and you get the button. He keeps his top on here, so just lift up the bottom. So
I wouldn't know. Yeah.
Do the nappy, and before you do the nappy, you get a cold wet wipe. You just go across his tummy.
Right.
And the idea is that's meant to stimulate him to wee.
Oh.
So like if you do that, he'll then wee, and then when you change him, he's got no wee left.
Does that work?
Yeah. For the most time, apart from the odd occasion where you don't do it. And every single time you don't do it, he wheezes on you.
Oh, so the advice is actually don't do that then?
No, do it.
Well, it doesn't work.
No, that's what? I'm saying every time I don't do it, he wheezes.
Yeah. So every time you don't do the wet wipe that's supposed to stimulate him weeing, he wheezes.
Yeah.
So the wet wipe's not doing much.
No, he wheezes when I change him.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean. So right, okay.
What? Who's unhinged now? You're the newborn already. So you do it and he'll wee, and then you change his nappy.
Right, so you want to wee.
If you don't do it, you change him, he gets a bit cold, he pisses everywhere.
You're right.
Okay, so it just goes, like literally covers you, gushes you. The other day he did it. It's just changing. It's like, he cries every time you change him.
Yeah.
And I took off his nappy.
Yeah.
And he weed up himself onto the mat, right? On his side here, so he's like that in a puddle of wee, and I moved his head and it's all wet here.
Yeah,
he's just got wee all over him, and I was just like, it's your own fault.
Yeah, are you supposed to rub their noses? Is that advice? Oh no, that's dogs. It's the dogs.
Well, also he absolutely stinks at the minute, like absolutely stinks. Where I'm like, has he pooed? I'm like, I think he's pooed, and I check, nothing there, just farting constantly farting. Disgusting, horrible. So I get my own back now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So every time I feed him,
I
let one out. Right. Disgusting. I'm like, that's your shrine fart, pal. Yeah, smell that, mate. Because I get to hold you and your pooey nappy and pooey bum. Yeah. So I hold it in now until I feed him.
And then Lauren has to change
wait. It's like a human centipede, but it's just we're changing nappies. I'm changing his nappy.
This has become, I don't know what this podcast has become. I'm sorry. You probably started this thinking, educational, yeah. They talk about serious topics every now and then.
Oh my God, that's one other thing. My mum went away. Sorry, it's nothing to do with Rory. My mum went away really quickly. We'll get to your week. My mum went away this week and was with she works with MenCat, which is a charity, right? With adults with learning needs and stuff like that, supporting them in the community. And she's currently working with the University of Kent. It's like professors and stuff. And it's something to do with like work experience for the people or something like that. It's a bit, but with these academic people. And she went to a meeting in Birmingham, right? with her and some people from a charity and lots of professors and stuff from like obviously social care and all that kind of thing. And she just happened to mention the podcast because she just listened to my podcast like last week about I'm a grad. It's about Rory a bit, I guess. So I've just become a nan for the first time and like, listening to my son's podcast all about it. And apparently all these like highbrow educators were like, oh, what's it about? And Mum's like, oh, primary education. I'm like, oh, let me know what it is. Hey, imagine all these like educators. But let's go to all the pedagogy and the learning.
What's their most recent episode?
Click human centipede for nappies. So if you're listening, Doctor, hiya.
Welcome.
How was your week, Aiden?
Well, I don't want to talk about what I've got now because I need to be more highbrow. I was going to talk about my ear candles.
What?
Dylan's never used these.
What these things
Has anyone ever used? Right, I'm going to get one out of the packet.
God.
Has anyone ever used an ear candle?
You're not doing it live, are you?
No, I can't do it
Are
live.
these them things where you fire it?
Yeah, fire it. where you fire, where to put the fire. Yeah, so it looks like this. Okay.
Remember, some people do not watch the podcast.
Okay, well, if you're not watching, then you're missing out. So
describe it.
Okay, I'll describe it. It looks like...
It looks like a McDonald's straw that's been in the Coke for too long.
I don't really want to describe. Looks like a big soft straw. And you put it in your ear, so you have to lay on your side, put it in your ear, and then you light the top. And it takes about 10 minutes and it burns, right? And the idea is it creates a vacuum.
Right.
And it's so good. I mean, I don't know if you're one of those people, but the idea of like my ears being clean is divine to me.
I've never really thought about it.
It's just like the idea of there being nothing in there. I reckon a lot of people are the same. Like you just want to get it all out.
And it's safe.
Horrible. Yeah, they're safe. So you put it in your ear. You set it on.
It's safe to set your ear on fire.
Yeah. I feel bad saying the next sentence after saying it's safe. Yeah, it's safe. You put them in your ear and you set it on fire, and then you lay there for 10 minutes.
Wait, because it's paper, doesn't it go towards your ear?
Yeah, but really slowly, really slowly. And then when it gets to the red line, that's when you take it off.
How can you see that if it's in your ear?
Well, you need someone else or buy a mirror. You just be near a mirror. How can you see? But it draws all the wax out, and I tell you,
where does it go?
Just in this.
But it's being burnt.
No, but it just sucks it up, and then but it all kind of goes to there.
What, after the red line?
Bit. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and honestly,
listeners, sorry about this.
It's unreal.
No idea what we're talking
about. It is you should do it because it's an amazing experience.
Okay. If I do it, we'll make it into a reel.
Okay.
All
right, we'll do it. We're gonna do it. You can use on them. Cool. So that was the first thing. Yep. Bought them this week. Yeah. Unbelievable. I feel like I can hear better now.
Never ever moan about me talking about my son again. If that's what you come up with.
Okay, moving on from ear candles. What else have I got here? Looking at my notes. Rory. Just going past the Rorys. So we had parents' evening. Obviously, you don't know because you got out of it, Mr. Paternity.
Got out of it. I had a child.
You had your own parents' evening.
Yeah, I sat with him. Could do better on the poo front. Does smell quite a bit.
Stop weeing on your face.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Next step.
But good effort.
But just a quick thing. Really, really nice for both of us, I guess. Obviously, I teach year 6. And we had a lot of parents saying that they really enjoy our YouTube videos.
Oh, good.
That last year when their kid was like preparing for their 11 plus and things like that, they were watching our YouTube videos. And yeah, it was just really nice. I felt famous because 3 parents
You felt
our
famous?
Videos. Yeah.
Because people whose children are in your class know who you are?
Shh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was nice. Yeah. Parents' evening was very positive. Yeah. Long. Yeah. As always.
Always long.
It's a long
But good. I had this conversation on Threads. What's your overall thought on Parents' Evening? Is it towards the positive or the negative?
Positive.
Yeah,
always. Yeah. I very rarely have a... Yeah, there's always one. There's always
no, I don't even mean are the parents positive. I just mean, do you think it's an objectively good thing for us to be doing?
Oh, 100%.
Because
it needs to be done.
With marking and time, I'm like, that's almost never useful.
Yeah.
Whereas a Parents' Evening, I know it's a slog, but I think it's really valuable.
Yeah, if it was a choice between, hey, do this 6 hours, this like 2 times a year, or... We don't do that, but you just constantly need to catch up with the parents after school all the time, like informally, or they can just make a meeting with you whenever. I think I'd hate that. Yeah. Because that would become so just unmanageable. And
big thing in schools, isn't it? Like, parent calls a meeting and you just do it. And it's like, you could just get a parent who calls a meeting every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I was going to do this later, but can I do a rile you up thing? Can I rile you up? Because
should we do the beat or are we doing it right now?
No, we're doing it right now.
Okay, go on.
I'm changing the format of this.
Oh my gosh.
Episode.
It's not like I like things in order and knowing exactly what's coming.
No, I can see you tweaking out. So I was going to do this at the end, but it just relates to this conversation. So I'm going to do it right now. This is called Riling Up Dylan.
Let's rile up Dylan. I've forgotten the jingle. How does it go? Give me a Pringle.
He has lost it. So someone wrote this. I screenshotted it because I thought, oh, that will make Dylan mad.
I love how that's what's going through your head.
Yeah, I do. I literally read it. I'm like, oh, that's such a good one. So this is what it says. They put, I literally can't do this anymore.
It's always a good start.
Yeah. So Dylan at that point replies going, well, don't then. Thinks he's
You already know the
revolutionary.
answer. You don't have to do it.
Yeah, stop it then. We all need to band together and tell the school that I'm not doing it. That's his answer.
Let's see, because it might well be.
So, I literally can't do this anymore.
Oh.
A parent emailed me asking for my lessons and resources up front so that he could decide if he wanted his child to participate.
What?
Okay.
No, in what?
I don't know, it just says lessons.
It's got to be something optional.
I don't know. Genuinely, I think it's everything.
This must be like PSHE or something.
I don't know.
Oh,
I get
sorry.
the impression it's all of it. He was referring to me... Oh, here we are. He was referring to me reading books and having conversations that are all inclusive and talk about differences that exist in our class and everyday life.
So, classic parent who's scared of someone saying that people are different.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want my child to believe in differences.
But I'm sorry, but okay, I'm going to come in right now because this riles me up. Like when someone's like, "Oh, I don't want my child to be exposed to different things." Like I do actually think there is a point to have when teachers preach stuff to kids.
Yeah, 100%.
Like for example, I'm quite political myself. I have views on religion, for example, for myself. But I really passionately believe that as a teacher, my job is to teach children facts and say, this is what people believe.
Yeah.
This is what other people believe. This is what other people believe. Here's how they show that through their practice and what they do. And when it comes to inclusivity and stuff, there's nothing wrong with saying, these are people who exist.
Yeah.
Like you don't, it's different to saying, this is how you should live your life, kids. Ignore your parents. You should lead this life. No, simply just saying that these people exist in your society and it's good to know that.
And that's, again, even slightly different as well to the other argument that we've had before about books, which is these are people that exist and we don't like them.
Yeah.
Or we're going to say negative things about these people, like the whole David Walliams stuff that we talked about, Roald Dahl, all that in the past. It's like, that's a bit different again.
Yeah. But then people take it as, if it's not negative, well, then it's celebrating it and it's pushing it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm sorry, these people just exist in society. And we're going to read a book which involves them. And yeah, that's that. Sorry that it doesnn't say that they're horrible people.
And do you know what happens normally when we're not aware of people that don't exist? We tend to, as humanity, be really, really horrible to them and cruel. So
Tribal.
Anyway,
Tribal instincts.
back to this. So it's clearly about that.
Yeah.
And this teacher said, I asked my admin for support in replying because I can't provide this every single week.
Of course.
Obviously, you can't provide your planning every single week to a parent.
You don't even need to provide your planning to your school.
Yeah. Oh, it's unsustainable. This is what they drafted for me to reply with, which goes against my boundaries because when I leave the building for the day or weekend, I have communicated to families that I do not respond to emails in order to have a healthy work-life balance.
Very good.
Good for this person, right?
Yeah. Build those boundaries.
Now, I haven't got it's a screenshot, so I haven't got the emails open, but essentially, the email that was drafted by her manager to send to this parent was like really nice at the start. It was very much like, oh, thank you so much for taking interest, blah, 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 blah.
Nothing wrong with that.
And it was fine. It was, well worded. They've been very careful, clearly, of how they word it to this parent. And then it says, the teacher will try her best to send you a list of the topics that we'll be covering on a Sunday.
For God's
It specifically
sake.
says on Sunday. On Sunday, once the planning's done, they'll email you the stuff so that you can have that conversation.
Down.
Yeah. Whoever her manager is, I don't know if that's like a
or admin, HR, or something.
or admin, whatever. Yeah, but someone who's supposed to be looking after her. You just think, what?
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, firstly, like this, it's in its own right. You could have a discussion whether it's right or wrong to dictate that your staff send planning home to parents every week. That's a really weird standard to live by, and not something that we should remotely be promoting. I always think, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe someone in HR can write into us, or admin can tell us. I feel like HR and admin's job is first and foremost to be protecting your colleagues, to be protecting the people who work in your establishment. It sounds here like we're protecting the parents or protecting the image of the school.
Yeah,
it's you need to have certain things you do, certain lines you do not cross, and that's not dictating work unreasonably beyond what even the school asks for.
I tell you what, it's hard though, and I've always struggled with this, is having a bit of a backbone when it comes to talking to parents.
Definitely.
It's hard because I really feel the pressure. If a parent wants something, I'm like, well, I don't want to let them down. That's like the worst possible thing you could do.
Yeah.
I have an argument with someone at work about, like a colleague about something,
Yeah.
just because I think we have that professional discourse. But when it comes to parent,
Yeah.
the idea of upsetting them or saying something they don't want to hear does make me feel horrible.
Yeah. Well,
So I get that pressure.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one because, like you said, it's easier to bow sometimes, isn't it? It's easier just to be like, okay,
well, they're doing the planning anyway. Okay, they
Yeah.
can just send it. It's like, well,
but you can't tell someone to send it on a Sunday.
no.
Like, I don't understand where these people get off. I really want to get one of them on the podcast. We've got guests coming up, by the way. Side note, got some guests coming up on the podcast again. Restarting now, we're back on our feet for a couple of weeks until you're off your feet. But we'll have some guests.
Two guests booked in. Two guests booked in.
But and more that I know absolutely want to come on, and I would love to have them on. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you have riled me up a bit. It's the same old. But I want to get on a HR manager or a CEO of a MAT, or I really want to get them on and just talk to them.
Yeah,
I want to get into their head because I'm sure there are so many leaders who have the absolute best of intentions.
Yeah, well, we literally work with some.
Yeah, exactly. And but I mean, even the ones who seem to have these kind of reputations of a bit much, pushing people too hard, militant.
Yeah.
I want to pick their brains because I'm sure they have an amazing rationale. But when, like, I don't understand how you can be in charge of a school where, firstly, you can't read the room that everyone is absolutely on their last legs hating it. Because I've heard of many schools like that where the teachers absolutely hate it. And I can't imagine being in charge of that, not being able to see it and being like, we should do something about it. That's what good leaders do.
I think they know it though. Like I was just
thinking back. That's why I want to pick their brains.
Thinking back to one of my experiences in a previous school, I think that's exactly what it was like. I think they knew that if they just got NQTs in and got rid of the staff that were moaning and just wanted genuine change for like good reasons, they can get in NQTs. They're cheaper and they're malleable, and they'll just do what they want for a couple of years. And if they need to get rid of them,
you're on M4. Bye.
But I think that's a conscious effort.
Yeah.
I don't, maybe not for everyone. I just think for some people, they get into that position and they think this is the best course of action that will get the best outcomes for these kids at the sacrifice of these adults.
Yeah.
I just think people make that decision on purpose.
It'd be interesting. I want to just talk to them because I don't know. I can't see anything more important than the well-being of your staff, because that is first. How do you get good lessons to children? Your staff are on it. Your staff are feeling good.
Yeah.
That is the first port of call to me.
I've always said to you, if I ever lead a school, and we've got this imaginary school that we sometimes come to, I would absolutely go in with the approach of staff first.
Yeah.
And probably people will be like, oh, no, kids first. No, staff first, because I guarantee that will have better outcomes on the kids if you treat your staff like royalty. Like, they are the most important people there.
That's a great point. I agree.
But that's what I think. That's just my...
Don't be surprised if you don't see that as a reel in the next one.
Just edit it so it's like, I don't think kids are good. I think I want the staff to be better.
And it just zooms on me going,
Yeah, but hopefully you understand what I mean.
One minute. Hey, don't say that.
There we go. Edit that in now. Oh, man. This is how people lose their careers, you know. Deep fakes, because we're so big, people will do it.
Deep fake. You just said it. You just said it. Right, should we play the jingle?
Yeah.
Because we've actually not remotely touched upon what this episode is called.
No.
Because I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about deep dives, baby.
Let's do it. So yesterday, I was supposed to go and see. In fact, we were supposed to go and see Mr. P, his tour. We're invited, which we were really excited to go on. Obviously, you couldn't make it.
I really wanted to, but I can't leave.
Have you got a baby? He's got a baby. And I had full intentions of going. In fact, me and Lauren were going to go. And we got to the train station yesterday and was like, oh, train's been cancelled. That's all right. There's another one in 18 minutes. Waited the 18 minutes. It's been cancelled. Waited like another 20 minutes.
Was it strikes?
I don't really know. I don't think it was.
No, I didn't hear anything.
So
about
when I was on the platform, we were waiting for the third train. We looked to the left and noticed there was a train on the line, and I was thinking the whole time, like, a train's not going to come if that's there, though, is it? Because that is literally on the line, the only one, the train track that we need to use. Thinking, I don't know what the plan is here, and sort of spoke to the guy, and he was literally getting live updates at the time, and he was and they was basically saying, yeah, we're going to cancel all the trains to London because we can't get any drivers to come and move that train. Because there was loads of like emergency maintenance happening in Faversham.
Right.
So I don't really know the full details, but in the end, waited there for like 45 minutes, an hour, and was like, yeah, let's.
So the upshot is,
go home.
Neither of us went to see him.
Yeah, so neither of us went to see him. Really sorry about that.
He's smashing that
P.
tour as well. Apparently, he's really good.
Yeah, well, his pictures are amazing. He's like fully booked out.
Yeah, unbelievable. So
that's really good. So
and he was 17 in all podcasts on Apple Podcasts the other day.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
In all podcasts.
It was above like some massive ones
Yeah,
as
he's
well.
smashing it.
I saw
love
it was like Shag
really
Married
good.
Annoyed, and that was down there. And I was
yeah.
thinking, crikey, go on, lad.
Smashing it.
Yeah, and I think we were number 2.
Yeah, I think we were
2,000. I
we were
think
just behind the other one.
Yeah, it was Joe Rogan then us. I think. No. Anyway, if you're listening, thanks. But anyway, the point here was I also spoke to Lee, Mr. P, and said to him when we had Ofsted last week, and his words were just kind of made me laugh, and it is something he says a lot, which was he said, "Good luck." And it is mostly luck because it depends on the inspector you get.
Yeah. He said that when we interviewed him on our podcast.
He says it often in his reels and things as well. He's quite strongly opinionated about the reform of Ofsted. He's not against Ofsted. He just thinks it needs to be reformed, as far as I'm aware. So I thought that was interesting, and I thought it would lead quite nicely into a discussion about our experience of Ofsted. Now, obviously, we have to be careful because there's no official report out yet, so we're not going to talk about any kind of grading or anything like that, but we are just going to talk about our experience through Ofsted because we were deep dived, and we were deep dived in maths, which is our subject area. So, Dylan?
Yeah, we'll start with an overview. I think before we get into it, I think a lot of people listening heard us talk a lot about Ofsted in the past. Emotions run high, don't they? Especially after what happened with Ruth Perry. A lot of controversy across, and the amount of stress that an Ofsted visit can induce over years. Not knowing when they're going to come is a really bizarre factor, in my opinion, because schools are working hard constantly. I don't think we need that layer of mysteriousism. Like, it made no difference to us, did it? Mysteriousism, it's a new word.
Nice.
But, I think giving schools a slot, the first half of this year even, I don't think that's going to make practice worse.
Well, do you remember when, obviously the whole stuff with Ruth Perry was horrendous. If you don't know much about it, just look it up. It was horrible, had a bad outcome for the school, and she lost her life because of it. It was horrendous. And then they went back and decided to grade it good a few months later or something. It was just such a
this is the point I want to make
situation.
Because it's very easy with Ofsted, and I've said this before, to fall into the trap of negative, all these objective facts about Ofsted, which you think need changing. I think it needs huge overhauling. I think we both do.
Yeah.
But it's very easy if Ofsted come and you have a positive experience with them to kind of forget all that and be like, oh, well, we're all right.
Yeah.
And I'm really passionately against that, because you're about to hear a really positive experience. We really did have a positive experience with Ofsted. And I don't want to hold back on that. In fairness to Ofsted as well. I think if we're going to be picking apart things that we need improving, I think we equally need to praise them when they get something right.
Yeah, because actually, Mr. P was right in terms of it is a bit of luck down to the inspector, because it is just a human being doing a job at the end of the day, and we happen to have a really good human being who was doing his job really well. Because ultimately, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think Ofsted should exist?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I agree. Like, there needs to be something to monitor schools and hold schools accountable.
I think it's really, really naive to suggest that with no accountability, things wouldn't slip.
Yeah.
I think that the current method of accountability is not in the right balancing scale. Without Ofsted, it flips the other way. With Ofsted in its current form, it's way too much pressure, too much worry, and I think staff would do a fantastic job without even 1/10 of the amount of scrutiny and pressure that they're under.
I think to summarise something I'm sure we've said on a previous episode, an opinion that we came to, was that the main problem is the fact that the school gets summarised with a word at the end of it, and on a really, really arbitrary scale, like a small scale as well, of like you're either rubbish, good, or great. Yeah. It's like, really?
For some reason, you've gone for different words. It's
as simple I know I was.
But no, you're right, though, because it is as simple as the bottom line, and then there's 5 categories, isn't there? Like leadership and educating and safeguarding. But it is just, headline outstanding, headline good.
Yeah.
And it's very much like when we talk about the children. Maybe they reach expected standard, okay? 2 children who happen to be expected standard in maths can have very, very, very different ability in maths.
Yeah.
Very different strengths, very different reasons why they've got to expected standard. One could be really close to a greater depth, being really top level. One could have just got into the expected standard because their arithmetic's really good or something like that. And the same has to be applied to schools, where it's not very useful to put 2 good schools next to each other and assume that they're the same. Absolutely not.
And the same with outstanding as well.
Yeah,
equally.
100%.
And then there's the last element that comes into play here, which just makes the whole thing a farce, which is that it's a game and you can just play the game. Like, some schools are really good at ticking boxes.
Yeah.
And they'll get the good or the outstanding and not even be remotely comparable with another school that's good or outstanding at the same level.
I personally think, before we dive in very quickly, I really do believe that there can be an outstanding school and a good school, where the good school is doing things and getting much more out of the children, and the children are loving their lives and getting lots of a quality education every single day, better than the outstanding school who happen to have played the game.
Yeah.
You know,
high staff turnaround.
Yeah. Look at staff turnover. Okay, if the school's outstanding, but the turnover of staff is extremely high,
don't go there.
That's going to tell you something about it as a teacher. As a parent, maybe they get a fantastic deal. As a teacher, don't go near it, because that is clearly they're getting an outstanding grade through jumping through boxes and being able to put a big banner up to say outstanding, at the detriment of the well-being of the people who literally deliver that outstanding.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
That's my disclaimer. You know, Ofsted, nothing changes about what we said Ofsted before, but
we've now had an experience of it.
So we have, and it's the first time we've gone through Ofsted.
Yeah.
We both qualified. Well, I qualified in 2016. You qualified in 2015.
Yep.
We joined schools which had just had Ofsted, and then we joined another school which had just had Ofsted. So this is the first time.
I worked at 3 schools, and the first 2 schools I worked at got Ofsted either just before I joined or immediately after I left. And it was like, I just missed those 2.
Yeah. So first experience of Ofsted, and we are middle leaders in terms of we're in charge of maths.
Yeah.
I never know middle leaders. It sounds weird. I don't feel like a middle leader. I feel like a teacher who does maths.
Subject leaders.
But subject leaders. And first and foremost, we got the call. Obviously, I was off and you were in school. And the overview was that we were getting just one person because we're a good school. So we're getting just one inspector. It's not a fully blown inspection. He simply comes in and there are 4 outcomes.
I can't think of the name of it, but there are 2 types of inspections. One to give you a new grading, and one just to basically renew the grading you're on, just to see if you're still at the standard. Exactly. Which we learned on the day. Interestingly, if the inspector decides that your school either...
Well, here are the 4 quickly. So I'll tell you the 4, then you can tell the outcomes of each one. Sure. So the 4 options the guy had when he came were, number 1, you're a good school and you remain a good school, done.
Yep.
He doesn't come back.
Yep.
Option 2, you're a good school, but there's evidence that you could be an outstanding school. And then that would trigger
another Ofsted within the next 2 years.
So not even close.
A 3-day full inspection to come back and see if you are outstanding.
So in our opinion, more stress.
Yeah.
Third option, we were good, but there is some evidence that you might have slipped down the grade.
Same outcome. Ofsted will come again within 2 years and check to see if that's the case.
But you remain good until then.
You remain good.
And then the 4th outcome, the one no one wants, which is serious, usually to do with safeguarding.
Yeah.
Serious issues that will trigger an inspection immediately.
The next day, within 48 hours, he said.
Yeah.
Serious issues. Like you said, usually with safeguarding, but it could be anything. If there was loads of evidence across all of the areas he looks at, like leadership, curriculum, and all those sorts of things.
Although he wasn't really looking at leadership too much.
No.
The big thing in these ones is quality of education.
Yeah.
And safeguarding.
So we had a 1-day inspection with one guy. So what we want to do... because I had a school trip the next day. We had a 2-day inspection with one inspector. And all we want to do really for the next 10, 15 minutes is just kind of run you through our experience, because you might be someone, if you're in the teaching world, that's never been for Ofsted or expecting it soon, or maybe had it recently and you want to compare, or we've got lots of listeners that aren't in the teaching world who probably just want to know what happens.
I think we should give a really quick overview of actually the 2 days structure, and then we'll go into real detail about our own experience with maths.
Sure.
So in terms of what happened was he did 3 deep dives.
Explain that.
So a deep dive, when it is an inspector comes in, and obviously within 2 days, we cannot check every single part of the curriculum. We can't go through music and BT and art and history and geography and science and maths and English in detail. So what Ofsted do now is this kind of deep dive scheme where they will pick a certain number of subjects and spend half a day diving into that subject, hence the deep dive. So our deep dives were in maths, history, and reading.
Yeah.
And Ofsted inspectors tend to go towards reading always. Something to do with that, because it's such a vital part of the curriculum. And, if there's one thing we want children to finish school doing, it's reading.
And interestingly, we were allowed, and I think this is normal practice, we were allowed to pick a subject to be deep dived in as well. So it's almost like a chance for the school to say, look at this subject, because we feel strongly about this one. So we picked maths because it's a well-developed area of our curriculum. Not saying because of us, but just over the years, it's been a well-developed...
It's had really strong leadership even before we were there. It's in a good place.
Yeah, and obviously we've hopefully maintained that. Reading, like you said. And then the last one is supposed to be an area that you want to show the Ofsted inspector that you're developing at the moment. And we picked history, and he was happy to do that. So we had a lot of choice, really, in what areas he spent a lot of time looking at.
And I think, again, this is the overall his kind of word, his leading word was collaborative. He said he really wanted it to be a collaborative effort, not him finding something out, not him trying to catch us out, not him trying to find something that will degrade us.
Yeah.
It was a collaborative effort where actually we go through as a team, and he might have questions, but it's because he wants an answer, not because he's trying to trip us up.
Yeah, and he said one thing, didn't he, that really calmed me down, because I was very nervous, obviously. I think most people were quite nervous, because you want to show yourself in your best light. And what was it that he said specifically? He said...
It really stuck with him. Really stuck with him.
Yeah, no, I don't want to get it wrong, because you always take the mic, because I'll get the wording completely wrong.
There's not one thing.
But he said that there's not one thing that will be bad enough to impact the overall grading or something like that.
If only you write it down in your notes.
Did I actually write it?
Realistic. No one thing will
Did
be
I write
enough.
it? Oh yeah, no one thing will be enough to ruin the outcome. I thought I wrote it. I couldn't see it. And that made me feel really good, because I had this preconception of Ofsted that if there's one area of the 19 things that they're looking at that's just unsatisfactory, it'll be like, well, that's it.
We're going to nail down into that.
Your school's rubbish. Yeah. And he said there's not one area. Obviously, I think that's excluding safeguarding, because that always has the highest precedence. And if safeguarding's not good enough, then that's it. Your school's.
Well, there's no safeguarding. Not one thing.
Yeah. But in terms of all the subject areas we looked at, and
for example, if he does, I assume, if he looked at one book, and there was no evidence in that book of all of these amazing starters you're saying you're doing, he's not going to suddenly think that you are lying to him.
And one thing I was really worried about, and we kind of got over this a while ago because we spoke to a leader from a different school about Ofsted that they'd recently had. I was really worried that if one single child said just some negative things about the school, like, I just hate it here, teachers are horrible, for whatever reason, maybe they've had that experience, or they're just being annoying, then they'd take that super seriously and be like, okay, there's a massive concern at the school. But I learned from our Ofsted and also our friends Ofsted that they're realistic. They're human beings. They've worked in schools. Generally, Ofsted inspectors have a long career in teaching before, and they know that kids obviously say that sort of stuff, and it doesn't always mean
if there's a pattern. Different.
Exactly. If 25 children are raving about the school, and then one child saying, I don't like it, but they happen to also be the child that doesn't behave very well in class. They usually go, okay, I can understand why that child might be annoyed right now.
So around those deep dives as well, there were different parts of it where the inspector would just go out on the playground at playtime, just observe the children, talk to the children in that environment, just check the children are safe, things like that. He would talk to staff, talk to teaching assistants, get their kind of view on the school. And I think what we noticed, and we'll talk more about our deep dive in a minute, but with him talking to the children and him talking to the staff and him talking to the teaching assistants, a huge thing for him was seeing that what we say as subject leaders, staff say as staff, teaching assistants say as teaching assistants, children say that they do in lessons every day. So it almost, I guess the overarching message we've got for people going through Ofsted is, as long as you're delivering good practice, they don't really care how you're doing it as such. You can you can work from a scheme, you can do this, you can do that. As long as you have a rationale, you can back it up, and it's consistent, then they're going to be happy with it.
You can't blag.
No.
I think we learned that very quickly, and I'm glad we didn't in any way, but you have to be truthful and honest, because he was absolutely out there to see if the things we were saying were true. And if they weren't true, I imagine that would have had repercussions.
I think us saying something wasn't true would have more of an impact negatively on us than us saying we do something that he disagrees with.
Or even just saying, being honest, we don't really think this area has been very well developed, we're going to work on it, rather than pretending that it is well developed, and then he finds out that it's not. Because then it's like, the leaders don't know what they're talking about now.
Yes. It's okay to have your own points for development, as long as you know them and you can explain them.
Well, schools have an action plan, right? Every school has an action plan that's always in progress. No school has gone, completed it. We've done, everything's done. Our school is complete. Like, there's always an action plan. So it'd be naive.
Our imaginary school's like that.
That one's good. But it'd be very naive to go in thinking that the Ofsted inspector is expecting perfection from you. He's expecting a realistic approach. Like, these areas are good in our subject. We're also class teachers. So we don't have, crazy amounts of time to sort it out. So we're trying to work on these areas. This is our plan. And he was very much like that. So should we run them through? Kind of like in chronological order, I guess, from the call. So we had the call at about 10:30 the day before
Let's just say day. Was it Monday? Tuesday?
Yeah, it was a Monday when we had the call. Yeah, it was first day of the week because he came in Tuesday and Wednesday.
Cool.
So I guess the first thing to talk about is that time between having the call and him being there in the morning, that sort of prep. Because
so 24 hours, basically.
Yeah. The first thing I did was I messaged you because obviously Dylan was at home on paternity, and I was like, "You'll never guess what's just happened," because we joked about the idea one of us being off and Ofsted coming in, and you were like, "No way, no," and I was like, "Seriously, we're going for having a quick emergency meeting."
What happened in school? Yeah, so after that call,
yeah,
obviously you said that one of the office staff kind of goes around the school and tells all the teachers.
Yeah, just told us all, and
then what happened?
So luckily it was literally right before our assembly slot that we were told. So the office staff just said, having a quick meeting in the staff room during assembly. Our deputy head's going to run assembly, and the head teacher just wants all the staff in there so he can tell everybody that Ofsted's coming in and just kind of what the rough plan is.
Because Ofsted, correct me if I'm wrong, they have like almost like a phone interview, don't they?
Yeah.
On that day.
Yeah.
How does that work?
So at the start, so our head teacher would have been called like an hour before this, before we found out, to have the call. And they just ask, I think, a series of questions on the phone to the head teacher to get an idea of the school, to get an idea of the head teacher. I think the deputy and the assistant head were in there as well on that call. And they also explore like what they're going to deep dive and all that sort of stuff. So they sort out all of that first. Then the head teacher comes and sort of tells us all that this is what's happening. And then we were kind of left to our own devices. And our school's super chill. Like, it was actually a really nice environment. Like, I was probably the most panicky. Like, out of anyone, really, like, thinking about what I was doing and going around.
I'm not being funny. We've done enough. We're ready.
I know, and that's what it turned out. Like, I felt fine within a few hours. But our head teacher at no point came round instilling any sort of fear or panic at any point, which I thought was really good.
If anything, I thought he became super chill when he knew it was happening.
Yeah, he was like, finally, let's just do this. Let's show them what we because we've been waiting for ages for Ofsted, and it is just an annoying experience. Yeah. But in terms of prep, though, so obviously we spoke a lot, and Dylan very, very kindly, I will say it because it was really nice of you, did say, I'm going to come in and help you prep for a couple of hours, and then I'll come in tomorrow as well and to do the actual bit with the inspector, because we were being deep dived, which I massively appreciated, because I was starting to get a bit like, oh god, I've got to do all this stuff now.
I think it's more, you would have been absolutely fine, but I think it's more having years of knowing it's both of us.
Yeah.
To suddenly the day before being like, oh god, it's just, what if I forget this, what if I do this, what
exactly.
if I do that?
And we're normally quite good at one of us is talking, just thinking about the next thing to say, as you can hopefully tell. Yeah. So prep that evening and that day, all we did really was, number one, get all of our documents together. So we had our progression document, we had our action plan, we had any kind of lesson monitoring and pupil conferencing evidence that we had of our subject leadership, and we just kind of printed it all, because normally we were all very digital, but I just wanted a hard copy just in case he wanted to see it, which he didn't, by the way, at any point really. No. We just talked about those things, our lesson structure policy. Yeah.
Because he's not trying to catch you out, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, you are allowed to look at your policy on a piece of paper. Don't be afraid to print that stuff out.
And we wrote notes as well. Yeah. And it's fine to read notes.
Yeah.
I was sat there with my bullet points of things I want to mention to him to show that, you know, because he's a human being. He knows that people forget stuff and get nervous in the situation.
we could have made that up and he would have found us out within 1 hour.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't made up. Exactly. It was just organisation.
And the second thing we did was just sent a very, very, very short summary email to staff, just outlining the kind of key points of the maths curriculum that we've been developing, just as a reminder, because at the end of the day, we love maths and we live maths. Also as a teacher, I don't have that level of involvement in every single subject where I can just remember off the top of my head all of the things we've done for the last 4 years. I do need to be just reminded. But
history.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really useful when I saw just a couple of notes on the things we've been doing in history. I was like, oh yeah, of course we have been doing that. Oh yeah, of course I've implemented this already. But on the spot, if I was asked by the inspector, I probably would have frozen and been like, I don't know what we do. And of course I do. I just needed that reminder. So I sent a very, very short summary email to staff.
Not a script, really important.
No, it wasn't a script at all.
You hear some people say they send out scripts and they're like, you will be found out.
Yeah.
Like, I know schools where staff have been given scripts and questions and answers. If you get asked this, answer this. How are you? What you?
No, it was actually just a bullet point list of things like, this is where our progression document is in the staff shed area. This is where you're going to find this document if you need to have a look at it. Our vocab progression is here. Just stuff like that, where it was like, people might want to have these things on hand tomorrow if they're being asked about it. So that was that.
Because very quickly, I think maybe you can address this. There is a feeling sometimes, and someone outside of school might think, well, if you're told the day before, can't you just fudge it? Like, you know, what do you mean prep? What prep is there to do?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just organisation, I would say, isn't it? More than anything.
I suppose the nice thing about them, that's a nice thing, but from their point of view, from Ofsted's point of view, that's good for them coming or telling you 24 hours before they come is you can't really fudge it.
No.
It would be very, very hard if you were genuinely like not in the right place to be able to, within 24 hours, fix all of those things. Yeah, no. it's not going to happen.
Not when you factor in he talks to the kids and the stuff like
exactly because the blagging's out the window through their approach. So I thought it was a very good approach to, stop, I guess, as much of the fudging of the system as possible.
I want to talk about our leadership team because we get a lot of people writing in. It's very easy for us to jump on the bandwagon sometimes. Be like, how ridiculous are this leadership team?
Yeah.
I don't think our leadership team could have done any better for us in that process of making it as chilled out, as trustworthy and positive because they trusted us. They really did. And I'm talking about as a leader and a teacher. I felt completely trusted when I went in there. There was no one was on my back. No one said, make sure you say this, make sure you say that. No, you guys. And the only thing SLT repeatedly said to us, you guys are going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, they're really nice. Our assistant head is just so involved in our school and she's amazing. And it was really, really nice actually to see her super positive, like buzzing around the school. And she wasn't even feeling well that week. No. She was really poorly.
She did amazing.
And she stayed in school anyway, and because she wanted to be there. And she was so positive, and I think she made everyone feel good. Yeah. Because our school is good, and we did everything we needed to do on that day. So let's go through the day, shall we?
Yeah, this is exciting. So I think a lot of people hear deep dive. If they're teachers, they hear deep dive, and it gave me a sense of dread. It really did. Like, what do you mean deep dive? It sounds horrendous.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the process.
Yeah, me too. I didn't think they dived as deep as I thought they would.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of accountability, a lot of straight questions. You've got to know your stuff.
Yeah.
But if you know your stuff, if you know your curriculum and your intent and you know why you're doing things, it's really enjoyable because you're basically showing. We love maths and we think maths in our school is great. We got to show it off to an expert for half a morning.
Yeah, this is what we do and this is why we do it. And that's all we were doing all morning. So his first question was really interesting. So we had a meeting with him. We were the first deep dive. So it was like 9:00. And we had about 2.5 hours blocked out with this guy, which at first I was like, oh my God, that's so long. But it went so quickly. Yeah. The first 20 minutes, 30 minutes of that.
Yeah, I think it was a bit longer maybe.
It might have ended up. I think it was about half an hour in the end. Because about 9:30 we were out. We were gone around classrooms. He just met with us and just asked us some questions. And again, that time went so quick. And the first question was... Do you remember it?
I think it was what's the intent of what's the purpose of your curriculum? What's the intent?
What is
the
really
intent? Broad question.
Yeah, and we almost felt like, oh, that's caught us off guard, but it was quite simple, really. It was what is the intent of your curriculum? And I think you jumped in straight away of like, all right, the intent is that every single child makes progress at this school in mathematics and they love the subject. Yeah. And I was like, yes, Dylan, go on, lad.
Oh, that's true.
But it's true. That's exactly what we do it for. And then from there, he just kind of tailored his questions. To go in this sort of flow because he just wanted to find out what we do.
I felt they were blocked, the questions. It was like a theme. You answer, I ask a question about it. You answer, ask question, answer, ask question.
Yeah.
New theme.
Yeah.
So the first thing about the intent was really cool because it really opened up the whole curriculum because we could talk about fluency, problem solving, children from different backgrounds, children from different abilities, staff, making sure they're really good. And I feel like that question was a really good one to open with because it opened all the avenues, I thought.
I thought he was very equally interested, which he should be, in just your average child, but also children with disadvantaged backgrounds and children with additional needs. And he was very, very on it all the time about talking about those three groups of children very equally and wanted to see evidence of,
And also I think maybe from COVID especially, it's been exacerbated. Also children, just children in general who have gaps in their learning.
You mentioned it a lot, didn't he? Yeah. Gaps. How are you plugging gaps? How are you plugging gaps? How are you catching kids up?
Yeah. How are you ensuring in a class where someone understands something and someone doesn't, that you don't leave anyone behind? Yeah.
And he didn't try and catch us out. Like we'd give an answer. And if he got the gist of what we were saying, he wasn't trying to catch that thinking, oh, they didn't use this word, so I'll write down they've not got the right answer. It was very collaborative. He understood what we were saying, and every now and then he'd even put words in our mouth a little bit where he was trying to summarize what we were saying to make sure that he agreed. Yeah. Not in a bad way, but just sort of like, so you're saying this, and we're like, yes, that's what we're trying to say. Exactly. And he was very trusting that is truthfully what we were trying to say. It wasn't. We weren't playing.
I thought a big thing he said a lot of was, okay, what are we going to see? Because we had that discussion together, knowing full well maths was going on. So I think he almost said it in as many words. He said, okay, so if we went round now into a classroom, what would I see in every classroom? And that gave us a really good opportunity to kind of show off, what we've given staff as development, what we expect from maths lessons. And it felt like every time he asked a question, I was excited to answer it.
Yeah.
There was no dread. It was, oh no, we do this at this school. And we've worked really hard on making sure there's a lot of children talk.
Yeah.
We've worked really hard at making sure that actually, if you walked through the school, you'd notice that we're all using a scheme. But if you walked through a year group, you might notice varying abilities working off the curriculum in different ways. You might see one class with manipulatives out, doing maths at a level that's appropriate to them. You might walk into the next classroom and they're doing problem solving from the offset, really secure in their maths. And wherever you go, I think the point we wanted to make was what you should see is children in their zone of learning. You know, whatever that is for them. You're not going to walk into every classroom and see them doing the same thing, but you are going to walk into every classroom and see each child stretching themselves, learning basics, or seeing what they can apply.
In their zone of proximal development.
In their zone of proximal
Vygotsky.
development. But it was really passionate because I want you to talk about now, Hayden, because another big part, big controversial thing in maths is whether you should set from ability or not.
Yeah.
Okay? So huge thing. Do we simply have a mixed class of ability? It's just as it is, and you teach maths to them, and you support children who struggle or stretch children who do really well? Or should you set them? There are pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
The flavour of the last few years has been to not set, and almost some people turn their nose up at setting. Like, no, everyone should be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We set in our school.
Yeah.
Something we've thought about for a while that would be flagged up with Ofsted was flagged up. But how did you find that process with him?
I thought it was really interesting how he had maybe he had a slight preconception about the idea of setting because he was a little bit concerned about the idea and he really wanted to see how we approached it. But I loved that through our justifications, and we'll talk about that in a minute, by the end of our conversation with him, like our professional dialogue and going around the school, he was really pleased with the way we approached it and thought that it was absolutely acceptable and fine. So even though he had a bit of a setting, I don't know.
He didn't let that get in the way, did he?
No, he didn't. He didn't just have that preconception and then that was the end result as well.
And I think sometimes that's what Mr. P's alluding to. If some inspectors have this preconception of what they expect is good, anything diverting from that doesn't match up with the idea that Ofsted should be not looking for certain things, but looking for consistency.
And perhaps they're not confident in that area as an inspector, so they just kind of stick with what they know. Yeah, but this guy, he was very interested in hearing our reasoning to everything.
So, Hayden, why don't you tell people at home, in our school, what do we do in maths?
What, as in terms of
how do we set children? Because we have free form entry.
Yeah.
So we have 4 adults in the morning where set teacher where we can split children, 96 children, however we like. We could just stay in classes. We sit them in English. It's completely mixed. What do we do in maths?
I think it'd be really interesting to see what you guys do if you're in the teaching world as well and how it compares to us. But we have quite a simple procedure, I think, really. And that is we look at the data at the end of the previous year, so our summative data of that cohort of children, and we simply use that, it's bespoke every single time, to divide them into sets as we see according. So we have 4 teachers in each year group, and we just look at the data and go, right, what do these kids need? What should we put in place for them? Rather than what a lot of schools do is they have an approach of like,
ideological.
The sets already exist, and we put the kids into the sets, rather than let's look at the kids and make sets based on that. So that's what we do.
And that he really appreciated that.
Yeah, he liked that.
Something he said, which I thought was almost like a tagline I want to take from him. He was saying, you're responsive, not reactive.
Yeah. And I spent the whole time thinking, what's the difference?
No, because reactive is like, oh God, we didn't think this through. We're going to just put a plaster on that and fix that and change it.
Got you,
oh God, no, this isn't working properly. Oh, we need to really quickly change that. And that mindset schools get in, which is like, oh gosh, we've got to fix these things within 3 minutes and not have a plan. Yeah. His point was we're responsive in that we look at the data, we have a well thought out plan, and we just roll with that.
We respond to the needs of them at the time, and then we put things in place.
It's thoughtful. It is based on what he sees, but it's not reactionary, really quick. Oh gosh, let's change this, change that. We have a rationale that we stick with. I think if we said we just set, that would be really weak practice, and I think he could have easily picked it apart. But we explained why we set. We went and showed him the classes, and in every class, children were doing something appropriate to them. And it backed it up. And he even said, I can see how this works. I can really see how this works here.
So there's one more area that he was really interested in, because I'm aware this conversation is going on forever.
Well, people want this. It's a podcast, Hayden. It's
of course. But, so the other area he was really interested in when he was going around was our intervention group. So he was very interested in how we plug gaps via some, additional groups and things. Now, most schools will run some sort of intervention group at some point in the day. It's the magical
intervention group.
So intervention group is that magical thing that's supposed to happen, but also not supposed to happen during the day.
So what is it?
Well, intervention group is just when some children, maybe a group of 6, group of 8 children, are taken to plug a gap in their learning, basically.
Yeah, they don't quite get something, they need some extra help. You might remember in primary school, some kids might go off with an assistant or a teacher and just practice something again.
His first question about this, and I knew it was loaded because I've heard about this question before, was who runs your intervention groups?
Yeah.
And it was very loaded because I know it's seen as a negative practice if the only people that are running your intervention groups for the children that need teaching the most are your least trained teachers, which are generally your teaching assistants rather than the teacher themselves. Yeah. Fortunately for us, we have both. So our teachers run our main...
Which is best practice.
...intervention groups, and we also have our teaching assistants running groups as well.
Yeah. So when we say main intervention groups, we mean, for example, in maths, if children didn't get something that day in maths, most of the time in the week, we have a slot where, as the teacher, we can keep them for 10 to 15 minutes and explicitly go over that again the same day. Yeah. Whereas we might have teaching assistants sometimes do something similar, but they'll be doing something more pre-planned, maybe like a handwriting scheme, maybe reading with children. But that direct teaching that we have delivered, the children didn't get, it's important that you can justify to Ofsted that it's the teacher themselves who are plugging them gaps as well.
Exactly. He also asked how we assess the children, which I thought was a really interesting question because...
and it was really that vague, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Most of his questions were. So my fears were very much that he was going to be really unpicking stuff and just like trying to get to the point where he catches us out. And it wasn't like that at all. Yeah. He was just asking genuine questions. Yeah. So I don't know if you remember our response to assessment.
Yeah, well, you jumped in with it. It was good.
It was about testing for success, wasn't it?
So yeah, I mean, you started off very quickly. You can talk about testing for success. But the general spiel, you might all know this, we do tests 3 times a year, but we do ongoing assessment from lessons, from feedback, from marking, from talking to the children, from doing groups, all that general stuff. But then you really went into detail about something I thought was good.
Yeah, well, we've recently, one of our most recent things we've introduced, I guess, and we'll just put a bit more training on, is that when we do weekly arithmetic tests, which not every school will do, but in our school we have a sort of, I don't know,
we just identified it as
10 minutes, 15 minutes every week, once a week, where we just go over some fluency.
It's not the only time we do arithmetic. It's just something where we can do what you're about to say.
Yeah, it gives us a bit of data, and we call it testing for success because the idea is it's cumulative. We're not chucking loads of content in these tests that the kids haven't done yet just to see if they can do them, so that we can track progress over time. It is literally just for formative assessment straight away. Here's 10 questions. I've taught you all of them. Let's see if you can still do them. And then from that, we can gap analyze that very, very easily and go, oh, look, 50% of the kids are still getting question 9 wrong. What was that? Oh, okay, I'm going to do a bit more of that. I'm going to teach a bit more of that then. Because I've taught that. They're not getting it. Yeah. So we're going to do it again.
Whereas sometimes in a test where it's taken off the shelf, you might get loads of getting question 9 wrong and loads of getting question 5 wrong. Well, question 5 was column addition with 2 exchanging. We've just done that. That's a worry. Question 9 was fraction. We haven't done fractions yet. Yeah. So on paper, those two, like, oh gosh, we've got these 2 gaps. You haven't. You've got 1 gap. You've got 1 gap, really. Because now for testing with success, you walk into a classroom, and I think you really liked this as well, and it's another thing that we can say why we set as well, is you will see children doing a arithmetic test where every single child in the school, the aim is to get 10 out of 10. Yeah. So it's a really clear goal. It's like everyone can get 10 out of 10 every week. If they don't, they get help. If they do, they get celebrated. Yeah. Simple as that.
So it's seen as a negative practice, just for those thinking about maybe having a maths deep dive. It's seen as negative practice to be regularly assessing children on content that they haven't even been taught yet. Yeah. It's not seen as a good practice. Yeah.
So yeah, we did the walk, I suppose. There was loads of other stuff there. I mean, if you guys are having a deep dive, you want more, you can get in touch with us.
Yeah, spoke to kids a lot.
Spoke to kids, yeah, we talk about that. But in terms of our walking around with him,
I meant that as well. Just going around chatting to kids.
Oh yeah, walking with him. That was a big thing. Yeah. I thought that was really cool as well. I liked that.
He had the same sort of 2 questions, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
That he asked.
What are you learning?
Yeah.
What have you been learning? What are you learning? So children being able to articulate. And it's a really good point that if a child in your class doing the task can't say what they're doing, there's a missing link there somewhere. And the other one was, how does your teacher help you? Yeah. Well, I thought that was a really good question because if a child doesn't know how your teacher can help you, that is a huge gap.
Or what they're learning.
Yeah.
I think he was kind of doing them in pairs for a reason. If they couldn't answer either of those questions, it was a bit of a flag of like, okay, something's not quite right here because it's mid-lesson. Yeah. So that was interesting. But luckily the kids were great.
One question quickly before we move on, I suppose, was he asked very briefly about parental engagement. not something that's really high on the list, I think, when you're preparing a deep dive, because you think about the quality of learning. But as long as you have ties with your parents and, you know, through
They're
reports
informed.
and through open evenings and things like that, that was a easy enough question to battle.
Yeah.
But the thing that I found really interesting, again, was he obviously did pupil voice. So he spoke to children. He asked for 8 children, 2 from each year group, because we're a junior school, so 3, 4, 5, 6. And he just said, 8 children, please. I want a few children who are pupil premium. I want a few children who are additional needs. And I want a few children who aren't on either of the registers. Just mix them up, send them in. He didn't ask who was who. He didn't ask for names. He didn't ask for anything like that. He just wanted to know that in that group of 8 children, there was a broad variety of children from different backgrounds.
The school.
And we weren't in that conversation with him.
Yeah, so we sort of led the children in thinking we would be in the room with them as well, just to be there as a familiar face, really. And he was like, okay, off you go. And we were like, oh, okay, bye.
He did obviously some safeguarding thing.
Yeah, he can't have
stuff like maths.
So yeah, we just sort of, they were in there for a good...
half an hour.
Yeah, good half an hour. We just kind of lingered outside thinking...
with their books open. That was really cute.
They took their books with them.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really nice experience in terms of, it was a bit more holistic. I was a bit more confident that the children had everything they needed with them to be able to answer these questions well. So I imagine, just from experiences of talking to other staff that have been through Ofsteds, that the approach is very much like, if he says what you've been learning recently, the kids are allowed to open their book and be like, this is what I've been learning recently. Well, that is okay. It's not a memory test.
Well, a big part for us was, we talked about our starters, and it's a really big part of how we're plugging gaps across the school, is that we have that unmovable, almost like a lesson, that 20-minute slot at the start of every day, which you go to your math sets and you're with your teacher and you recap stuff you need to, or completely free for staff to do it if they want. And those starters are in the back of their book. And I just had this vision of, you know, him asking that, because we said to him, we do this starters, it's in the back of the book. And he was like, oh, will I go and see that? And we're like, yes, but we missed that time because we're having the meeting, so we didn't see the starters. But I had this really nice vision of him saying, oh, so do you do any starters? And the kid's like, yeah, in the back of our book. And they open the back of their book.
Really visually
and they show
obvious.
them, and each kid has something different, even in the same year group, because they might be from different sets. Like, oh, well, look, I've been doing loads of times table practice, and whereas this child, I've been doing loads of reasoning and problem solving and stuff in my starter time. It was just totally positive, I think.
It was good. I tell you what, just thinking of that, if you're maths lead or whatever, that was a really positive change and an easy thing we did with the school, because the reason that kind of idea got born of having the back of the book for the starters was because when we were looking at books a couple of years ago, it just wasn't very clear when looking through the books kind of where the main objective of the lesson started, because we'd often do starters and we'd write things in our books as well. And the kids also struggled to say, this is what I've been learning in this lesson, because they're looking at their own book. And there's maybe it was a mixed starter of a couple of recap things that's right there in their book, and that immediately transitions into their main task. And they were a bit like, I forgot what I was learning. Or was I learning fractions? Oh no, that was a recap.
Because it might say we are learning to add fractions. And then underneath are 6 questions of short multiplication.
And shape.
Yeah.
So putting it in the back of their books is really clear for us, and it's really clear for the kids as well. This is your main objective, and this is
you can see the learning journey now. The learning journey is really clear in their book. And it's not, we don't write things down in the book just for Ofsted or to show. We write things down in the book for starters, because actually, again, this is my personal thing, I think it's way better than whiteboards. On a whiteboard, there's no squares, there's no presentation to practice. Presentation is hugely important in maths, and I think it's overlooked sometimes, because the amount of marks missed or questions wrong because children can't read their own writing because it's a scruffy
line
mess.
Up their columns properly.
You know, doing it in the back of their books, it's on paper, it's on squares constantly, and getting the children to write down their working out. It can be very tempting to print sheets and just write their answer on the sheets. It's already laid out for them. Get them to do it every single day.
And there's just a slightly higher level of accountability as well for the kids. I think with whiteboards, I do like the whiteboards have their place, but when it comes to starters that I do actually care about, like recapping something, I want to make sure they've got it. I think when they, if me as a kid, right, lazy as anything, if I knew that in that in 25 seconds the thing on my whiteboard is going to be rubbed out,
no pride.
I'm putting no effort into that. I'm not even going to write anything because the other kid, teachers won't even notice.
I say to the kids, it's in your book. I'm going to check through these after. Never do. I'm going to check through these after. I'm going to have to take a look. So. You know, and I walk around every day because I'm in year 4, so team points still matter. And I walk around with my huge tub. I've got this huge tub of team points, and I walk around shaking it. I'm like, anyone I see who's doing 1 digit per box, really neat. Throw a team point on their lid. And they're like, oh, and they're all doing it. But it's any way to get the kids to do work neatly, practice, do as much as they can, practice speed, practice writing it down. You're going to see a benefit in the long run. Kind of separate to what we're saying, but the kids could show that off.
Yeah.
And that's the expectation of all children, of all abilities. They're proud of their work. It's neat. They're doing their best. They're doing loads of it.
They feel good in the subject.
Exactly.
Which is part of the cumulative testing. Again, you think about that kid that finds maths really hard and 90% of the content they can't do. It's not going to feel good. Not going to feel good for them. Yeah. But anyway, so that was kind of our 2.5 hour experience. We had the meeting. We had the walk around the school. We had a lot of questions and talking to kids. And then he specifically took kids away and talked to them and looked through their book for about half an hour. And that was kind of the chunk, wasn't it, of time with us.
The only other thing extra that was still to do with maths was he spoke to teaching assistants and staff at the end of the day. But he did that talking about history as well.
Do you know what? I don't think I ever spoke to you after this. He didn't ask a single question about maths in the end.
Did he not?
To the staff.
Really?
No, he said he would, but he obviously didn't in the end. He focused on something else.
Yeah. I think he's responsive as well.
Yeah.
And I think, not to jump the gun or anything, but I think he was quite pleased with what he saw, the way he spoke to us. We'll see the report soon, see how it came out.
Yeah.
But I think probably he uses his time really well. He was very, very organised, very strict, stayed to his times. And I think they're trained really well in actually, okay, if this popped up, that's where my time needs to go to.
Yeah.
So it was potentially a good thing, maybe.
And then in the afternoon, he then deep dived histories, which obviously wasn't really to do with us. No. I mean, hilariously, I was teaching history, so he came and observed my lesson. I was thinking, I can't get away from this.
You had a really long few days.
It's fine though, because the next day, Year 6 were on a school trip. So we went on a school trip and I was like, "Wait, see you everybody."
Bye. Deep dive in reading. I'm off to the RAF museum.
We're going to learn about history.
But yeah, that was our experience with Ofsted.
Yeah.
We get the report soon. But I would say that, my overall kind of idea to anyone who's got Ofsted coming up and is a subject leader, if you know your stuff, if you have a rationale, if you can justify it, and if you're consistent, you'll be fine. Yeah.
Unless you're unlucky enough to get an inspector that just isn't of the same standard. Yeah. So that's where, going back to Mr. P's thing, right at the start, there is, that's where the reform is needed in Ofsted. Still think it needs reforming, even though we had a fairly positive experience personally.
Cool. Should we jingle?
Yeah.
Let's jingle.
Right. I hope you're really enjoying this extended episode.
We're not finished.
No, we're not finished.
Okay.
That's not the end. We've got more to do.
Oh,
because we've got a Q&A section. Because last week, Dylan forgot to actually ask the questions.
I put an Instagram story out and didn't look.
You were like, oh no, 30 minutes till the episode. If you've got a burning question, get it in now. Didn't ask them.
We got like 5 questions in, I think.
Didn't ask them. But before we do that, there is another thing we're going to do first, which is talk about politics. Because Dylan hasn't had the opportunity to talk about politics for 7 whole days.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know, I've had a child.
Oh, yep.
So I was in my own little bubble and I thought, I'll go into the world of social media and see what's going on.
What's positive about the world?
Let's see what's going on. Oh, Gillian Keegan, the education, she's tweeted. Oh. And there was a nice glossy video underneath. And I thought, I wonder if she's announcing a new scheme to rebuild our falling schools.
Yeah,
or
backing
maybe,
us up.
How she's going to boost retention by paying us a fair wage.
Well, surely that's the job of the education secretary, isn't it? To make it better?
To be really positive about teachers.
Yeah.
Let's have a look, shall we? Oh, last year, school strikes resulted in 25 million school days being lost cumulatively.
Pointless number.
Really good use of maths there, my friend. Children should not have to suffer repeat disruption. They shouldn't. They really shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's your job. I'm announcing that we will introduce minimum service levels in schools so that pupils get the education they need and deserve. I can't explain how much this riled me up.
Yeah.
Because any time this Conservative government talk about what children deserve, I can't help but want to shout in their face, we know that's why we're striking. Can we have some more money, please? Can we have the things that you've cut for the last 13 years? Children deserve to not be disrupted. Children deserve to not have a roof fall on their head when they're learning about maths. Well, children deserve to not be in a porter cabin for 7 years. For a bit, but it's actually for longer than they expect. Children deserve to have a qualified teacher in the subject teaching them. I'd love to know the cumulative number of the amount of maths lessons that have been taught and science lessons by teachers who aren't qualified in maths or science. So when she talks about what children deserve, can we just sit down for a minute and actually you do your job and give them what they deserve in the first place and not blame us, the people who are delivering it on a shoestring?
Yeah. I mean, wow.
winds
You
me
got
up.
really passionate there. I fully agree, though. I think I found it so offensive because it was like, what? We were striking for minimum service to improve.
We're the problem.
Yeah, mad, isn't it?
What's minimum service to you? Like, minimum service to me is like literally a building that doesn't fall down.
Minimum service to me is that when the class happens to have 4 children with additional needs in it, that they actually get additional support. It's not just potluck.
Is it not when you literally apply, rejected? And this is the same government, by the way, who are going to put a cap on how many EHCPs could be granted, as if there's a magic number of children who need extra help.
Yeah, the government that didn't want to feed children during COVID who needed feeding.
Do you remember when like these are the kind of idiots who go, stick to football, thank you, leave the politics to me? Who are these people? Are they qualified in politics? No, they just spout rubbish. They spout stuff to get on the Daily Mail front page and just wind us up.
Gillian Keegan is the exact opposite of the analogy I gave earlier about what kind of leader I'd like to be if I was leading a school. It's the same thing. If I was leading the country of teachers, I'd put the teachers first so that they do a really, really good job and improve the minimum service level that the children receive.
If you're going to be in charge of a government which continuously strangles any form of funding or help, not only for the children who need it the most, but for everyone, and instead spout statistics which are complete nonsense. We're investing more than ever before to our... Yeah, but there's more people than ever before. It's like, we have more teachers than ever in the profession. We have more pupils than ever, and that's outstripping the teachers.
And we have done every single decade since humanity. Like, of course it's increasing.
I'm sorry, one government and one out-of-touch MP is not more viable and trustworthy on this subject than hundreds of thousands of teachers who do it every single day.
I just don't get what they expect.
They're just stoking up.
To have the education secretary demonising the education
So, before this glossy video, I don't know when they do these videos, these Tory MPs. Sunak does a video every 2 days. Go on with your job, please. She did this video saying, we're going to the unions and we're going to ask them for a voluntary minimum service level. Didn't ask these unions before she did this video and published it. Didn't even go and talk to the unions. And then she said, if they don't agree, I'll just use my powers with the new anti-strike clause we have to make sure there are minimum service levels. So it's essentially just a threat. Just bullying. It's a threat. She is a disgrace. I've never been so angry listening to someone before who is supposed to be in our corner. And now, I'm not the biggest fan of the Conservative government, and I've never hid that, right? But if an education secretary came in and was remotely on our side and wanted to work with us, I'd be the first person to stand up and say, thank you, let's do this then. Let's solve this, because I don't care about political point scoring. Yeah, I think you're rubbish. You're proving it, by the way, that I was right. But it's your job to prove that people like us are wrong. It's your job to be in charge and come up with solutions that we can work together on and we can be energized by. You're my boss. What you're looking at me on this video going, you made children lose their education. Get in the bin. Yeah. Winds me up.
Let's hope that if I was the unions, being the bitter man that I am and the spiteful man that I would try and be in this situation, I would draft up a minimum service agreement that is 100% entirely down to the government's fault. Be like, okay, this is our minimum service agreement.
Roofs that don't leak when it rains.
And all the things are stuff that only the government can fix, because they're all the things that are actually the problem with the education sector.
Yeah. Because all they care about is that general average Joe doesn't have their kid off school anymore.
We haven't got enough qualified teachers, so we're going to increase the pay to make the job more attractive. So, there you go. Teachers get paid more.
Minimum service of having the minimum amount of children in a school. Yeah. That's the first thing we should do. Yeah. Let's have the minimum amount of qualified teachers in the building. That'd be a good minimum service level, wouldn't it?
Yeah. We're going to get more funding from the government so we can employ staff to help the children that are most vulnerable and most need that additional support, who are failing in our schools at the moment when they don't have the support.
Hayden, all of this requires money and input.
Oh, look, the teachers want money again. Yes, of course we want money.
Yeah, we don't even want money all the time, right? We just want other people in the building with us to deliver on things.
By money I mean funding.
Yeah, funding. Yeah.
That's all I meant.
Yeah, don't care about if it's in my pocket or not. Really, truthfully, that is quite low on my list. I still want an inflation pay rise, but if you were to tell me, right, there's a choice between you get 6.5% pay rise and every child who needs an EHCP is fully funded and gets the support they need, or I get a 12% pay rise, but none of the other stuff happens. Every single day of the week, 99.99% of teachers would choose the less money, but everyone gets support. But it's not going to happen, because she would rather stand there and say 25 million days were lost.
But what they'll do is, though, and this is what always happens, the rhetoric is, well, what? No, you take 0% pay rise and we'll give that money to the kids. Yeah, exactly. And it gets to the level where it's like, but you've done that for 10 years and now people can't afford to take a 0% pay rise anymore because you've whittled it down to the point where lots of teachers who are in, everyone has a different family setup. Lots of teachers in their family are on the absolute line of every single penny is already accounted for each month in their family, and they literally now can't afford to take any more pay cuts because it's been cut and cut and cut and cut and cut.
And remember that a 6% pay rise is a pay cut.
Yeah. Do you know what happened 10 years ago? They had that option. Take a 0% pay rise and we'll give the money to the kids. All right. Do you know what happened 9 years ago? That again. Do you know what happened 8 years ago? That. 7 years ago. It happened for 10 years.
Yeah.
And now no one has any money left. So they can't take a 0% pay rise anymore. That's all it's about.
And simultaneously, inflation went to 10%. Oh, but it's the war. Is it? Or is it literally your chronic underfunding and maltreatment of this entire country, never mind this education sector? It's embarrassing. You're blaming the wrong people. I can't wait until we get to vote you out.
But Dylan, 25 million days were lost.
Oh, really? Oh, screw the teachers.
How hilarious is that as a number? How hilarious.
I know how they got there, but like that is peak government, just absolute manipulation of, they never ever manipulate numbers in a way that's like normal. They always manipulate it to make their point better.
Yeah, it's like realistically, it's okay. A child lost like 4 or 5 days, whatever it was.
So here we go. 25 million days of school were lost. Yeah. Right. Also, there are more teachers than ever. Also, we're putting more money than ever into schools. Yeah. But when you literally dive into those numbers, they're all bad for the government. Yeah. The more money than ever, okay, but like based on how much money is now worth, right? You can't say, in the 1970s, we put 1 billion into education, and today we put 2 billion in. Like that's not how money works.
Well, here are 2 facts that are true. Ready? Teachers now earn more than teachers have ever earned ever before.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Yeah. We got £30,000 starting wage for new staff, more than ever before.
Yeah. It's also true comparatively to inflation. Yeah. Teachers earn the least they've ever earned.
Exactly, and you can say both of those sentences and technically be true. When you're the literal government, all they care about is staying in power. All they care about is PR. Not one of them cares about what's good for this country or the people in it. They only and every now and then, what's good for the people does overlap with what's good for their PR and stuff. So they will do that every now and then. Yeah. The vast majority of the time, it's just what's going to be easier for us to fix all of these problems, or to point at the teachers who are at the last rag of all these problems and say, your fault. See, your fault. Yeah. Your fault because you were off. And if you weren't off for them 4 days, everything would have been fine. Yeah. Oh, would the roof have not been collapsing?
Yeah. Did we spend months off school a couple of years ago? And we seem to be okay with that. We've plugged the gaps. 5 days though, terrible. Worst thing that could ever have happened.
Terrible. And like, let's not pretend COVID wasn't bad. Yeah. Like it was awful.
But it was huge in comparison to the few strike days.
Yeah. Fix it. Honestly, let's move on.
Let's move on. Right, we're getting wound up. Let's move on. We're going to finish this episode, this very, very long episode, with a Q&A from last week.
So this Q&A, I did ask it last week with half an hour. Yeah. And I did also just immediately not look at it. So I said, we'll do it next week. So my keep notes. Here we go on my phone. Yeah. First one.
Snickers.
No, stop.
Oh, sorry.
The first one. I've given Hayden one of them because it's something I want us to pre-do. And again, I'm going to make this into a reel, Hayden. You need to be on your ball. Please don't do that thing where I tell you we're going to do a reel. It needs to be less than a minute. And you go, and in the first place, we have a chocolate that I have sometimes decided I like to eat. And I'm going to say about the chocolate. Hayden, I need to cut this into a minute for the reels.
All right, you'll see.
I asked you, because someone said to us, can you rank the celebrations in order? It's that time of year where the celebrations start appearing in the shops. We've already gone through 2 boxes in our house. So celebrations, there's 8 in total. Yeah. I want you to rank them, okay? From worst to best, reverse order. I've ranked mine. Off you go.
Are you going to guess mine, or am I just doing it?
Pardon?
I thought you were going to play a game.
No. I want you to go from the top. From the bottom down, right. 8th place, worst to best. Okay?
I've written it down. You ready?
Yep.
Absolute worst, disgusting. Snickers.
Correct.
Followed by Bounty.
Absolutely right.
Could eat it. Twix.
Same.
Nice, but Mars.
Correct. Same.
Okay, brilliant.
Same.
Milky Way.
Yes. Oh my god.
We're in the nice territory now. Milky Way's nice.
Okay.
Galaxy Caramel.
Yes. I swear to God, I got the same.
Galaxy. Then the nicest one. Maltesers.
Right, on the screen, I have written this. You can't even see it. I've written down. I've got the exact same order. The exact same.
Snickers, Bounty, Twix, Mars, Milky Way, Galaxy, Caramel, Galaxy.
I really wanted to call you out. I thought you were going to say something about Bounty second.
There you go. No.
That's the definitive list then. If anyone disagrees with that, you're wrong. Let us know in the comments.
But
that is
100% of people think that. Do you know?
I wasn't. We'd have the same.
I thought we would because we eat a lot of sweets, and me and you will consistently eat the same ones and then be left with the ones we don't like. So it happens a lot.
Oh man, I was really hoping for some controversy, but we've just decided the definitive list. That is it. That is it now. If anyone asks and they don't say that, they're wrong.
The only one that's controversial is Snickers, because I know that people that like nutty things will often rank that quite a lot higher. But if you don't like it, obviously it goes to the bottom because I don't like nuts.
Well, that tends to be how a list works on preference. If you don't like them,
no, but things like Mars bars, it's like nuts are very nuts make something. Yeah,
especially if you're allergic to them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's why Snickers is often at the bottom.
Yeah, I was actually going to put Bounty bottom below Snickers, even though I'm allergic to Snickers.
Really?
Because I hate Bounty.
Oh no, I'll eat a Bounty,
no.
but I don't like them. They're just when they're there. Yeah. And it's been 4 days, no chocolate because nothing's left. Yeah. I'll start picking at the Bounties.
We've got the definitive list.
Yeah.
I'm buzzing. I'm actually buzzing.
Is it definitive, the list?
Oh my gosh, my microphone just came off.
You can put it back on. Uh-oh. Freestanding.
Okay, here we go. Oh dear. Right, Hayden, should we carry on with the Q&A?
Oh no, I want to watch you struggle first. Oh, it's back in. He did it quite easily.
Back in.
Okay, Q&A. What else we got then?
Okay, so Q&A. Let me get it back up. We have got, sorry to everyone, by the way, who sent one in. I did answer a few.
Okay, Eclair.
As I went through.
Then, just all the different things.
Okay, so.
Roses?
Roses, oh God.
What do you buy? Okay, there's a quick one.
Okay, here we go.
Because the choices realistically are Heroes, Celebrations, Roses, and Quality Street.
Yeah.
Aren't they? They're the 4.
Honestly, Roses and Quality Street, don't even think about them. Don't even think about
Roses are quite nice.
No. When you go into the shop, slide tackle them. Slide tackle that palette.
What?
Get rid horrible.
No. Quality Street and bit meh.
No, rubbish.
But
I would say Quality Street 4th. Roses 3rd.
Yeah.
Probably, this is where it's tough because I bought a celebration box, right? But I think Heroes are better.
Yeah, me too. However, I eat... No, actually, it's true.
So I eat everything in the Heroes box and enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think the individual top tier celebrations are better.
Yeah.
So Malteser, Galaxy Caramel, top tier.
Cream egg and caramel though.
Cream egg.
Heroes. I like you had them at your house the other day, and I very, very quickly ate all of those good ones.
They're good. You did because I was fuming. Honestly, in front of him were 3 cream egg wrappers, 3 caramel wrappers. And I was like, are you joking? You only got 3 in the pack. None of this. I'll have one. Let someone else have. No, I'll. Anyway, question and answer.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. First one's advice. It was a real one. Okay. Advice for someone who in a school has been put into a year group they really don't want to be in. What?
You got a really long hair coming out between your eyebrows, and it's amazing.
Nice.
Caught the light. Grow that.
We'll grow that. Like an anglerfish. Right?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, sorry, got distracted. What was the question?
Advice for someone in a year group in school who's been put there and they really don't want to be in that year group. Quite common because the start of a school year, you just go, we need to move you to, I don't know, let's say year 1 if you're in a through school.
I found that if you just go to another year group and start teaching the class, eventually they just leave you alone.
What do you mean?
Just take someone else's class. Just go and teach that year group. But no, I was put here. So that's probably my advice.
So just ignore it. I mean, year 3.
God, I don't know what my advice is. Do you have advice for that person?
I think what I would say is number 1, it's unfortunate, but it's completely legitimate.
Yeah, it's the job.
I would say in the first place, I'd be like, unless a leader really has to, that's pretty annoying. Because I think most good leaders ask what your preference is and then would preface it with a discussion if they had to put you somewhere. I've been put into a year group that wasn't necessarily my first choice, but I did what I was asked, and I did say, you know what, anywhere that's necessary. Turned out I was the only one who said that.
Yeah.
I went to
the hard thing is, I don't know if this person's in that situation, when you do have that preference, but you only say one thing. So sometimes the head teacher will come around and be like, where do you want to be? Oh, I only want to work in year 5.
So
okay, you're not really giving them much choice now, because if they can't put you in that one thing, then to them, they're all equally bad, so I'll put you in the worst one.
Because you might have thought year 4 would be fine, but God no, year 1.
Yeah, I often rank it.
To the head, no idea if you've got a preference. I think in this situation, it was a primary school, and the person had been put into Key Stage 1, and they were very much preferring had done Key Stage 2. My advice was, a lot of this stuff's transferable. You know, put yourself into it, do what you're good at, teach the children and build relationships quickly. I think you build different types of relationships depending on the age. But I think that's still the number 1 thing I would say. For me to enjoy my job, right, what I enjoy in my job is building relationships with the children where I know them really well.
Yeah.
And then they can get as much out of me as possible. That's how I feel good in my teaching job.
Yeah.
Is when I feel like I'm giving lots.
I'd say do that, and also speak to the head teacher and just be really honest with her. If they can see that you're trying your hardest and you're really not enjoying that role, and you think you could do a better job in another year group, make that clear. Show the evidence. Like, I think I perform better in this year group. I'll get better outcomes. Maybe next year I can move back, and just see what they say. And
don't kick up a fuss and not give your all. Because that gives them a reason then to be like, well, it's your fault, actually. You're not really
even trying.
Throw yourself into it. If it's not for you, hopefully next year your head will understand that. Next one made me laugh. Was, have you ever been tempted to join in playground games on break duty when the children are playing, like you used to?
Like you used to?
Like, when you were in school, you're like, I used to play Bulldog. I really want to join in with the kids.
Yeah. Well, I used to a lot. And when we started our career, I think you probably did as well. Probably. I used to go out quite a lot at lunchtimes and just... mingle with the kids a bit.
Like me.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a bit like that. But I'd go and play football with them all the time. I don't do it at all anymore. I just leave them alone.
No.
I just realised I don't think they actually want you to.
No, of course they don't.
They don't want their teacher.
They want to go and play with their
They'll be
mates.
nice to you and pretend. Yeah. Oh, sir, I'll pass you the ball. Really, they just want their mate who was going to get the ball. It's just like, I could have scored or whatever.
At what age do you think that people, when they get a break, stop thinking that sprinting as fast as they can is the way to have a break? Because it always makes me laugh when you're just like, right, kids, it's break time, and they sprint and scream out the door. And like, if you say to me it's break time, I'm like, oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And sit down with a drink.
Yeah.
At what point do you think sprinting is not the first thing you do?
I think I probably did that like all the way up to most
because football.
Football. Yeah, all of secondary school. I would say that the idea of running around was like quite. Could
you imagine it? Like, the staff room's got a treadmill. It's like break time. It's like screaming. It just makes me laugh.
Although, if that was the culture, as in if there was a culture of, imagine at break time. No, just hang on.
Right.
Imagine at break time, right?
Yeah.
It was just the thing that all the staff went outside and played like a really funny, silly game of like tag or like dodgeball or something. And that was the option. Or you can go and sit in the staff room. I think I'd probably choose the dodgeball. I think that would be quite fun.
You just can't get English prepped then.
Yeah, that's
what is break?
And it'd be one time, then the novelty will wear off. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the answer is yes, tempted, but I'm like, no, I've got other things to do. But I do see them play Bulldog, and it's such a simple game. Yeah. I'm like,
as you watch them trip over, I always
Bulldog always gets banned. And I know why, because people get hurt. Do you remember that time when people thought, like, people who aren't, like classic people who aren't in schools hear a story and think it's the worst thing possible. People thought British Bulldog was being banned because it was called British Bulldog, like because British, yeah, and there's a whole thing. Oh, we can't even have British things anymore in the school.
Hilarious.
No, it's just because the amount of kids who fall over and graze their knee.
Yeah,
we don't have enough ice packs.
Smash their faces. Yeah. Honestly, it's horrendous. Like, I've seen it firsthand multiple times. Yeah. Then we just like, no,
looks fun,
stop playing this game.
Join in. So I'd love to join in, but it's not safe, kids. So we've got to stop.
Yeah.
So safety first.
Also, just one quick one. I remember our deputy head said to us a long, long time ago, you got to be really careful because you're responsible. If you're playing Bulldog with the kids and you actually ran into one of them and seriously hurt them, you're losing your job. Yeah. Like, that's gone. Yeah. So maybe just don't put yourself in a situation.
Next one. I thought this was a good one. I think I know your answer, and this is from someone who we're going to have on the podcast soon. And we're going to have more of a discussion there. Do teachers need to be readers?
I think we should. I'm going to answer it very simply, but I actually really want to talk to the guest about that question. That's a really good one. Yeah. Here you go. This will just be a prompt then for the conversation. No.
That's interesting. Because I think, like every good question, we're going to have to clarify what we mean here.
If I said yes, I would be telling myself I'm a bad teacher. So yeah.
It's not the same as do teachers need to be able to read?
Yeah, that's different.
Teachers need to be exposed to lots of books? That's still different questions. Do teachers have to be readers?
I think my really, really short summary answer that's a bit more than no would just be, I think statistically, you're more likely to be a much better teacher of reading and writing if you read a lot yourself. But I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. I don't think you have to still be able to be a good.
You're just trying to worm your way to be able to say you're a good teacher, aren't you?
I'd like to think I'm not a bad.
Yeah.
And I don't. We'll get into the conversation. Yeah, okay, we'll do it next time. Tune in when not next episode, but whenever we have this guest on
soon,
which will be the next guest, I presume. Maybe I don't know.
Soon,
one of the next guests.
We'll see. We've got a few lined up. How exciting!
Yeah.
That's the end of the Q&A. I enjoyed that.
Oh, cool. That was really abrupt.
Yeah.
That's the end of the Q&A. Bye.
It's been a long episode.
That's
but
really long.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Hopefully people get something out of that experience.
It wasn't unhinged, though.
Wasn't unhinged.
No, it was quite serious today.
I do have an unhinged story about my son. I've got a son.
Oh, yeah?
We'll save it for next time.
Okay. All right,
it's
next
a good
time.
one. Yeah.
Tune in next week to Teach, Sleep, Repeat. Where can they check us out, Dylan, before we go? Because we're terrible at plugging our
On
own socials.
Instagram, Teach Sleep Repeat Podcast. On Threads, Teach Sleep Repeat Podcast. And you can email us at teachsleeprepeatpod@gmail.com. We had a lovely couple of emails this week from listeners, not even giving us stories, just when we say we want to hear you say hi.
Yeah.
We literally do love to hear you say hi. You say hi.
Yeah.
If you can rate us on all your podcast platforms, that'd be really helpful.
Getting that
if
Apple
you can
ranking up.
Share it as well. Yeah, share the podcast with someone. It's half term. Share it.
We are trying to grow an audience, so we do appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
And we love you all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, most of you.
Well, yeah, some.
Bye.
None of you. Bye.